TF2 has a lot of unlocks, and naturally you'll end up having one or two that end up getting forgotten, while some other weapons just end up getting bad reps. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of stinkers within the weapon category, but today I want to talk about a weapon that I think is unrightfully called a stinker. That's really better than most people realize. It's the Brass Beast. For those of you who are uninitiated, the Brass Beast is a heavy primary that has the main upside of having a 20% damage increase, just a flat 20% damage increase. You don't need to have any other status effects, and 10% damage resistance when you get below half health. But it's in exchange for a pretty crippling downside. The spin up speed and the movement speed on the heavy is decreased, meaning that it takes forever to spin up your gun and it takes forever to get anywhere when your gun is spun up. So yeah, it's definitely the worst heavy primary. And don't get me wrong, it's definitely outdone by Stock and the Tomislav, kind of the Natasha, and surprisingly the Huan Heater. But with that being said, being the worst heavy primary really isn't that bad. It's not like it's going to be ineffective at killing things. So let's talk about it. What is this weapon's niche? The weapon has a pretty obvious niche use case, being in casual, specifically on defensive maps, things like payload or attack defend defense. You will have a much easier time using it as the enemy has to come to you. You don't have to push into them. And I do mean it is a niche use because you can really only use it in these modes. Because if you try to use it offensively, well, a brass beast heavy can't constantly unrev and move up due to the fact the spin up time takes longer and movement speed is decreased, so you can't just stay rev or you won't end up moving at all. So you basically have to sit in one spot or a handful of spots and watch over them like a brick wall. Now, if someone does either come up to you or you peek from behind your corner to get some damage, and it will be really good damage. The Brass Beast does an insane amount of damage. It just shreds down anything at close range. At medium range, everyone just disappears. Now, at longer ranges, it's still not terrible. It's arguably better than the stock at long range because the increased damage lets you mean you can do pretty valuable chip as long as it's not a sniper. Plus, if you ever get crit or mini crit boosted, you can turn the thing into the Death Egg Laser and start pissing on the enemies from miles away and they just get dustified. Like, there's nothing left of them. I mean, like, seriously, it does 30 some damage minimum. If you're at point blank range, you kill every class in the game in like a fraction of a second. Now, that isn't to say that the weapon is really good or even really a great option for casual. It's usable and I think more people should play around with it, but don't get me wrong. I am not encouraging you to just go hop in casual and try and win. If you don't know what you're doing on heavy, you will die a lot. As you are still a heavy, which means you have to have the same problems that every heavy has. Time to finally talk about the two problem classes. Spy and Sniper. Now, I think Spy is a much easier class to talk about when it comes to heavy because Spy doesn't really necessarily counter heavy. He's just an easy target. You're slow, you're going to be distracted by fighting, so you aren't really countered. I mean, you still fight the Spy the way you fight any other class. You still play around him the way you play around any other class. Just stay vigilant. If you know he's there, he's easy to take down. But Sniper, on the other hand, now Sniper is Heavy's real counter. Sniper can instantly kill you from anywhere. And with the Brass Beast equipped, yes, you can't get two scoped because you have extra health. The extra health from the damage resistant keeps you alive from getting double headshotted. Doesn't stop the fact he can charge it in one shot too. I mean, yes, if you're being overhealed and also have the Brass Beast and are at full health, then you might survive. But it's really not a good idea to try and fight snipers. So you just end up playing like a normal heavy, but I guess extra in that aspect. Sniper is just a no-go. If you see a sniper dot, you just don't go there. You wait for his team to push up and kill them. You might get a sniper kill by catching someone off guard, but most of the time you're just gonna kind of hide because you can't really fight. You're already slow and you're just made slower. Which is, I mean, the whole design philosophy of the weapon. It takes the extremes of heavy, the extreme damage, the extreme health, the extreme movement speed, combines all of it together and makes it even more extreme. You already want the highest DPS in the game, here's even more. You already want the most health in the game, here's damage resistance. You already have the lowest walk speed in the game, make them even slower. Which is kind of why the weapon doesn't feel terrible in casual, because as long as you're good at heavy, it just works still. You just play heavy, but a little more cautiously, and in exchange get a lot more damage. So yeah, for fighting spies, just kind of stay aware. Stay playing heavy the way you would normally against a spy. look around, talk to your team, communicate. But for sniper, don't even try. If you know there's a sniper somewhere, just hide. You're not going to kill him. Let your soldier, your spy, or your scout do it. You can't do it yourself. And now it's time to talk about what I personally find to be the most interesting part of TF2, the competitive scene. Comp TF2 doesn't really have a history with the Brass Beast. I mean, it can be ran, it's in the rules, but you just never really should. The main and most obvious downside of it being the movement speed penalty. It really slows you down from being able to deal with things that a regular heavy would. Because in Highlander, Heavy is playing with the combo. He's going to be with the medic, the pyro, the demo, and he's going to be moving around. Even if it's just from choke point to choke point, you can't really do that on the Brass Beast. You're stuck in one position, and yeah, you can go from choke to choke unrev, but then you have to take longer to rev up. So even on defense, it's not really a great option. Now you might say, why wouldn't this matter for casual if those are still the downsides it has in casual? And it's just because in casual, the teams aren't going to be communicating. Your average casual team isn't going to be running a push from one side and a flank on the other. There's just going to be guys going to places. And if you happen to bump into one with the Brass Beast, you atomize them. Like, it doesn't really matter because if someone just walks in front of you, you kill them. But if you're competitive, no one's just going to walk in front of you. There's going to be coordinated pushes that are planned and precise, as well as the fact that this is probably the worst weapon in the game at both defending medics and being Ubered. Like, Heavy's a pretty good Uber target with the stock minigun, but if you're starting to run the Brass Beast, you should never Uber a Brass Beast Heavy. They are way too slow to be able to reach anything. Unless they're already about to round the corner into the enemy sentry gun, there's no reason to Uber them because you'll get stuck outside of your ideal range and just have to sit there and watch as your team is completely and utterly helpless while you waste the Uber like a dumbass. And when it comes to protecting the medic, it's not as good because if you try to sit there and rev up your gun and prepare for them to come to you, you're going to be stuck forever. But if you try and move with your medic, you aren't going to have time to rev up your gun when someone flanks and shows up to kill your medic. So yeah, in conclusion, the Brass Beast is just another one in the series of pub stomping weapons that are really fun to use in casual, but will never see the light of day in serious and coordinated play due to the fact that its glaring downsides are just really holding it back. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you can to boost the channel. I mean, I really appreciate it. Maybe I'll get out more videos faster if you do. And on top of that, new sub goal for the first video is going to be 15 subs. So if I get 15 subs, I'll do my first celebration video. Don't know what the video will be yet, but it'll probably be TF2 related. I might end up trying to play with some subscribers if you want. I might end up doing Q&A. I'll like ask you guys. I'll do a poll probably. But yeah, hope you had a good day. Goodbye.